Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge.
We start by sitting upright. Suspend the head from above. Or let your body be relaxed, soft. Remember that throughout the practice, it's important to sit still, to avoid any kind of fidgeting around. Breathe in a way that feels comfortable. Whatever that means to you personally. In this moment. Just giving your body and your mind some time to settle down. We're not doing anything to them. We simply sit here still, calm, breathing comfortably. Let the body and your mind go through this process by themselves. Just notice that each time when you breathe out, the body becomes a bit more relaxed, a bit more soft, naturally. Let your awareness gradually spread out inside of your body, feeling the body as a whole. And notice the softening as you breathe out. And how nice it is to let go of tension, and become a bit more comfortable. There's something really pleasant to every moment of melting, softening, releasing. And it's important to recognize it. Take some time to really enjoy these little moments. I know there's a tendency for most people to focus on the tension and tell themselves that they are way too tense. Focusing on the contraction, feeling overwhelmed by it because it's quite a lot. Instead, train yourself to focus on the moments of release, because they're there too. And they are nice. Notice where your attention is. Might go to a sound, might go to a sensation, feeling. It might go to a thought. You have the stages to train yourself to be here as an observer, to just simply know where the attention is. There's no need to adjust it, to guide it or control it. And we still have our home base. Returning just to this breath, feeling the body as you breathe in and releasing as you breathe out. That's the mainstay of your attention. And then every now and then, the attention goes to a sound or a thought. Simply know that. Knowing what is happening while it is happening. And if instead of following or fighting with your thoughts, you just simply let them pass through your space, those thoughts will gradually become less powerful, less elaborate, and you will encounter more moments of silence. Where you are here just like a mirror, reflecting simply what is in front of it, without judging it or without a narrative, no commentary. Explore those moments of silence. What is it like to be here, fully aware of what is happening, but without any narrative, without any words in your head? With this simplicity of experiencing just what is. Just rest in this knowing that there is absolutely nothing to do. Simply allowing life to go through its process without interfering. Without trying. Just resting in your natural presence. Whatever emotional states, whatever thoughts might come to the surface, just let them. Whatever thoughts and emotions that are lingering, just let them. And whatever thoughts and emotions that are passing, just let them. None of those thoughts or emotions are my business. Just like wind, just like weather, or the waves on the sea are not my business. Being like this open space in which everything is allowed to come, to stay, and to go. Let your breath be the mainstay. A home to return to. And notice every time your mind is returning to the breath, naturally. Not because you're forcing it or you're willing it. But because it gathers around the breath. By itself. Remaining equanimous, calm, patient. That is to say, do not involve yourself in anything that goes on. Remaining open, spacious. Simply just aware. And that awareness is not anything that you can do. It simply is. In your own time, you can slowly come back, open your eyes, gently stretch a bit if you like. Good morning. Today we have a question. That question is from A. There's a commenter under one of our episodes on Spotify. And he commented on episode 13, Making Peace with the Way It Is. He says, or she, "Thank you for this. I've been trying to observe the tension when I'm having so many emotions, but my mind is constantly creating stories or even getting distracted from the emotion with random stuff. How do I deal with this?" So there's a couple of things. First sentence, I've been trying to observe the tension. That wording is telling. Contains that little word, trying. And ask yourself, is trying easeful or stressful? But you can quickly notice that trying is stressful. Every time your mind is engaged in trying, it is tense. So if you're trying to observe tension, the tension is in the trying. And that trying would reveal that you have some specific agenda, perhaps to get rid of the tension. Perhaps you would like the tension to change into release. Maybe you want to be soft, but you're tense. And so observing tension would not be anything to try. It's already there. You're already aware of it. Finished. But if you do have an agenda, you're stuck right there. You do not want what is. You're by definition already suffering what is. You want to get rid of what is. You want to change what is. Here, in this case, the tension. That in itself is pretty tense. So I've been trying to observe the tension when I'm having so many emotions. Another telling word, so many. That indicates another desire. I'm just guessing here, but the way this is written almost implies as if those so many emotions could also be said too many emotions, as if those many emotions would be an obstacle, as if those many emotions would be something bad that should not actually be that way. So both the many emotions and the tension around those emotions seem to be something that you don't desire. You'd like to get rid of, not have that. I'd rather be, perhaps peaceful, calm, empty, open, aware, still. All those, quote, positive qualities that you desire, but then your body and your mind, they give you something else. Many emotions, too many, so many emotions, and attention around them. And a person goes on saying, but my mind is constantly creating stories. Another very telling portion of the sentence here, the little word but, also indicating a resistance to what is again. But my mind is constantly, it's almost like an expression of frustration. It's constantly, if that was only sporadically, okay, but it's constantly creating stories. Well, the mind is simply doing its job. Your brain is braining, as they say. And what does a brain do? It creates stories. It's what it does. It's like your liver doing its thing, or your kidneys doing their thing. But for the kidneys and the liver, funny enough, we don't seem to have a problem with that. But with the brain, that's somehow the black sheep in all our body and all these organs. It's the brain's fault. The brain is doing what it isn't supposed to do, but actually it is. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's creating stories. It's what brains do. The problem is not that your brain is creating stories. The problem is your perception of those stories and your identification with this perception, namely, the brain shouldn't create stories. I'm meditating right now, so the brain should shut up and be quiet. And that would be ideal. That would be the positive that I want. The talking brain, the fabricating brain, that's the negative. And I don't want that. So there's a very clear expression of desires in this whole comment. And it's those desires that are the primary cause of tension. The Buddha says it quite clearly in his Four Noble Truths that craving is the cause of suffering. So as soon as you want something, you're already on the platter. You're already to be served to your delusions, and then you'll become their subject, become their plaything, because you want something. If you didn't want anything, or not want, like wanting and not wanting, there's two sides of one coin. If there was no wanting, would you still have a problem? Then natural things would just perform the way natural things perform. Your brain would just do the brain stuff, and your liver and your kidneys and your body and the environment would just do what they do. But since there is an absence of wanting now, your conflict with the environment and yourself is gone. There's no agenda, so you cannot be manipulated. You cannot be disturbed. You can only ever be disturbed if you don't want what is, or if you want what is not. Then you are easy to be disturbed. Person goes on to say, my mind is constantly creating stories, or even getting distracted from the emotion with random stuff. Getting distracted from the emotion. So there seems to be another agenda here. You're trying to focus on the emotion. And when you're getting distracted from the emotion, your attention goes somewhere else. That is seen as bad. Should not. I should be focused on the emotion. This is my goal. This is my aim. And then on top of that, it's just random stuff that takes my attention away from the emotion. And finally, how do I deal with this? That's another sentence to top it all off with. Doing, more trying, dealing with. And I know it's a bit of a clickbait, to write on your video description how to deal with distractions, how to deal with emotions, how to deal with these things. But the reality is, the problem is actually that. It is the dealing mind. The mind that wants to deal with things that need no dealing with. Your emotions need no dealing with. Your thoughts need no dealing with. The whole problem is that you have this assumption that you or your parts are somehow wrong, or the environment. Let's count that into your parts. Namely, the activity of your senses: hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and thinking. There's something wrong with the way they perform, but I am the great master of wisdom that knows how they should perform, and therefore I apply some pressure onto them to bend them into the shape that I want them to be in. And that bending activity, that dealing activity, is very stressful in and of itself. The whole problem is that we have certain assumptions about how we and our environment or our senses should be. And you're hopping into your meditation practice with that assumption, and you're operating from that assumption that you should be peaceful, you should be happy, you should feel this and that. But then how disappointing to find out that everything you should be and everything your emotions and your thoughts and your attention and so on should be is not the way it should be. It's different. And so it's not a meditation session, then it's a struggle session. It's almost like you're going to war with yourself. You're sitting down with this assumption, I am incorrect. My experiences are not the way they should be, and I am now correcting them by doing meditation practice. I'm now dealing with this broken, shameful self, which is not the way it should be. I'd suggest to shift over rather from dealing to paying attention to. Pay attention to the way things are. The way things are, aka truth. That is the objective of meditation practice, is to be with what is true and to find peace with what is true. And so what is it that is true? A lot of emotions, feelings, thoughts. It's all existing. A lot of noise outside. Many things coming in and then leaving again. And then there is also perception that this is somehow problematic, that things are happening, that thoughts and feelings are happening, this is somehow problematic. Perception, ideas, wishes, desires, coping, all that is happening. The more aware you can become of those things as they are happening, the more you accumulate wisdom. This is the accumulation of wisdom. And the more stable you become in that wisdom, the more clearly you can see the nature of all those things. There's actually nothing threatening about any of it. Emotions are not a problem at all. There's nothing we need to do to them at all. But it's difficult, yes? We're not trained in remaining stable enough, so we are pulled in. You can think of your emotions like and your thoughts perhaps, all experiences kind of like a hurricane, massive hurricane. And imagine you break through and you come into the center of that hurricane, into the eye of the storm, which I like the word eye. It implies seeing. So now you're in this eye of the storm and you're looking at all those gigantic walls, those cloud walls around you. If you're in the center, there's no wind. It's completely still. This is actually the case. Center of a hurricane is completely quiet. People often describe it as this eerie silence before the other wall comes in. The winds turn. So the goal is to remain within the center of this eerie silence and to simply observe the spinning of the clouds around you. But for a beginner, the challenge is, and I'm putting challenge in quotes, the difficulty is to step out of the storm, to come out of the walls of the clouds, which we are in mostly. And guess what? Like if you're just a meter away from those cloud walls, it's so easy to get sucked right back in, right? And so the training is based on stability. You need to be able to remain centered, stable, within that seeing itself. So here's the process of how to accomplish that. It's threefold process. We always start with the very basic first step, which is make your life such that there are less disturbing thoughts and emotions. So get yourself in order. Make sure you're not living a life that is shameful to yourself. That by the end of the day you have regrets. You look back on your day and you think, oh God, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. And we all more or less have a feeling, a knowing of what is right to do and what is wrong to do. And if you don't have that feeling at all, which I doubt, orient yourself by the golden rule. Do not do unto others as you would have them do unto you. As you would not have them do unto you. So you don't treat others the way you wouldn't want them to treat you. And you do that in body, speech, and mind. Like with physical actions, obviously. And with mental actions, like thinking about others the way you would not want them to think of you. And so on, because all that creates disturbance inside of yourself, in your mind and in your emotions and so on. Because we are going against a higher, more loving, more compassionate calling of our souls, if you want. Being truthful, not harming, leading a life where at the end of the day you're feeling proud of yourself in a positive way. You're feeling happy about yourself. I did well today. I overcame those things that I know to be wrong, and I worked on those things that I know to be right. Perhaps a very recent example would be a mobile phone use. If you're using your phone a lot, how do you feel about yourself after that? If you just get stuck on doom scrolling for hours, how do you feel about yourself after that? Good, bad? Well, how about abandoning that? How about stopping that? So you're removing some of the and perhaps most of the things that create disturbing emotions and thoughts. Because we're loading our brains with so much information these days. It's just, we're living lives of complete overstimulation nowadays. There's hardly any break for anyone. There's constant input of stuff all the time. That's perhaps one of the main sources where all those emotions and thoughts come from. They're not even coming from yourself. They're coming from the things you ingest through your eyes, your ears, your body, and your company. So perhaps there is a lot of things that you can already do to reduce the onslaught of emotions and thoughts. Right there. Second training would be to learn to stabilize your mind. And we do that with simple breathing meditation. You need to learn to sit still, first of all, to not react to every little input that your nervous system gives you. So learn to sit still, and based upon being able to sit still for a sufficient time, you then begin to train your mind to stay with the task at hand. And here, please, do not make any drama of your emotions and thoughts. Simply just return to the task. If you need to return to the task 100 times a minute, that's 100 moments of success for that minute. You could also frame it as, that's 100 moments of failure, right? And that's what most people usually do. They say, wow, I'm so distracted. I would rephrase that as, oh, I'm becoming more aware of all those distractions. And yes, of course, in the beginning that might really feel overwhelming, because as your light increases, you begin to notice all the dirt that was in the room previously that you didn't notice with the low lighting. But that's good. But you can also just go back to having a dim light, so you're not seeing the dirt anymore. Which one do you prefer? Now your light is brighter, you see more clearly, and then of course you see the real chaos that most people never see their entire lives. It's because you're pulled out of the clouds that you now suddenly see how massive these cloud walls are. Maybe for the first time in your life you can see the extent of how much we are consumed by daydreams. This means you're waking up. You're beginning to wake up. That's good. So keep coming back to waking up and celebrate that waking up. Be thankful about that waking up. Cultivate patience, because it takes a lot of time to get adept at this, to get good at this. Besides, that time doesn't really matter. What really matters is that you wake up now. That you recognize that you have been lost in your thoughts, you've been lost in your emotions, that you got pulled in. The moment of recognition, that's it. You're doing everything right. Please notice that. So we train ourselves, if our lifestyle allows, we train ourselves in meditation, stabilizing the observer by anchoring it in the breath. Over and over and over and over again. Lifestyle, you need to make sure that your lifestyle doesn't contradict that. If your lifestyle contradicts stillness, stability, clarity, then you can sit for an hour each day and it won't do much of a difference if you are working the other 18 hours against yourself. So there has to be an alignment between your lifestyle and your meditation practice. And the purpose of the first two, to still your life, then to still your observer, to still your mind, is then that you can remain stable in the center, in the eye of the storm, and clearly see the storm without being pulled into it. And from that position, you can remain until the storm falls apart. And it will do that automatically. But it will not do that as long as you remain inside of the clouds. But if you remain as the eye, the storm will gradually fall apart. Because that's its nature. In order for the clouds to spin around, you have to be the one that's spinning them. If you now shift over from the doer, the spinner, to the center, the seer, That's when the spinning comes to an end. The more you get absorbed in the seeing, the less you spin. All right? So that's the three methods. 1, get your life in order, align it with the life of a meditator. 2, meditate, train to still your mind. And 3, use the mind that is now more still and more stable and more skillful to see the truth of your experiences, to wake up to the dream of life, to wake up to the dream of your senses, to become lucid, clear, aware. So you stop spinning around with all that stuff. So those are the 3 steps. I think it's a good point to conclude. Do you have any questions?
Can say that in the question there is the solution. I mean, the clear vision of what she did during this theoretical practice. It's just if you cancel the last sentence where she asked about the feeling and say, then I start watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think is just in the beginning of the path because she's already an observer?
Yes.
She's already done.
Yes. Yes. Especially the last sentence, how do I deal with it? Replace it with, and I see all of it.
Without the question mark.
Yeah, exactly. And problem solved. And I'm the one that sees all of those things going on. That would be the solution, yes? But again, this is only possible if you do have the stability, and the stability is only possible if you do have the lifestyle. So we can't just say, just be aware. It doesn't work. If your lifestyle doesn't allow for it, you have no stability, you will not last in that awareness, you will likely delude yourself. Yeah.
It shows like a self-healing the human being has just to improve in the path of life.
Yes.
However, maybe, of course, with your help is immediately, but alone.
Very difficult. Yes. Alone it's very unlikely. I would say actually the whole cause of the entire path, if you want to know the cause of all those 3 stages, then it is right company. It's keeping the company of the Sangha, for example, for a Buddhist. It's the group of practitioners that have experience. That's the main cause. It's your association with the wise. If you have that, you're good. If you associate with fools that tell you weird stuff, it won't work. If you associate with people that are just as confused as yourself, well, you're somebody that drowns among other people who drown. It's just no way out. One of the most fortunate things I would consider in my own life is meeting the Sangha, is meeting my teachers. There's nothing better. It's the root of all qualities. All right, guys. I think enough for today. Thank you very much for coming. Have a good week. Enjoy the rain.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.